He quietly unlocked the world's most secret safes like a magician. He transformed Nobel Prize winning equations into simple childlike drawings. He was both the mastermind of the team that split the atom and a rhythm master, playing the bongos at night. While everyone was trying to solve the universe, no one could solve his mind. He is Richard Feynman, and this is Logos Gate. If you are ready, we are unlocking the gates. In part 1, we met Richard Feynman, the boy who fixed radios by thinking, the genius who danced with quantum mechanics at MIT, and the husband who learned that even the most brilliant mind cannot outsmart death. He left the love of his life, Arlene, in a hospital bed and walked into a city that didn't exist on any map. He stepped through the heavy steel doors of Los Alamos not just to build a bomb, but to find an answer. The door has now closed behind him. Innocence is left outside, and inside, the silence is louder than the explosion waiting to happen. Welcome back to the desert. Welcome to the dark side of genius. Chapter 5. The game inside the closed world. Time flowed differently in Los Alamos than in the outside world. In this isolated place surrounded by fences, days were carbon copies of each other. Everything was top secret. Everything was forbidden. Everything was grey. But Richard Feynman's mind refused to live within this greyness. One morning, while walking down the corridor, he stopped in front of a steel safe hanging on the wall. These safes held the project's most sensitive information. The dial lock on it was a metal stop sign for most engineers. But for Feynman, that lock was no different than a toy that needed solving. Why? Because he needed to keep his mind busy. If he stopped thinking for a moment, his mind would go to that hospital room hundreds of miles away, to Arlene. His fingers danced over the lock like a pianist. Click, click, and clack. The surprise of the officials around him when the massive door swung open was a sight to behold. Richard was laughing, but behind this laughter lay a hidden goal, Arlene. To tell her in his censored letters how he outsmarted the rules here, to make her smile even a little in that cold room. This was Richard's greatest motivation here. Even in the shadow of the unknown, he was hunting for a cheerful story to tell his beloved. His little games weren't limited to locks. He was also dismantling the strict hierarchy in the mess hall. Instead of the special tables where the most senior professors sat, he would sit next to the technicians in the corner. Titles didn't matter. For him, the only truth was sincerity. People remembered, when they were with him, that this was not just a research center, but a human place. This warmth of his was actually a reflection of that life energy he learned from Arlene. When night fell and he retreated to his room, the game ended. When he read the last letter from Arlene on the table and put it aside, only those complex equations remained. As Feynman's mind sped up, the seriousness of the matter increased. The calculations were flawless. The numbers formed the key to unlocking the heart of nature. Richard was having fun unlocking safes, but that final door they were now trying to open was no joke. At midnight, as the desert wind rattled his window, the unrest inside him grew. His mind was fighting two great unknowns. One was that immense power sitting on the table that would change the course of history. The other was Arlene's fate, whose time was narrowing day by day. Both were uncontrollable, and both were nearing the end. So, which result was Richard more afraid of? Chapter 6. The Limit of Curiosity and the Great Light. The air in the corridors of Los Alamos was heavy and dense, like the calm before a storm. Everyone was focused on the approaching end. But for Richard, time was running out much more ruthlessly outside the lab. That day, while working in the lab, the phone in the hallway rang. When he picked up the receiver, the hard, cold bakelite plastic in his palm seemed to herald that something bad was approaching. The voice on the other end of the line was trembling. The moment he expected but feared hearing the most had arrived. Richard borrowed a colleague's car and drove to the hospital, kicking up dust and smoke. His knuckles were white as he gripped the steering wheel. When he entered the room, the air inside was still. Arlene was in a deep sleep. Richard sat beside her, taking her weakened hand between his palms. The warmth of her skin was slowly receding. The only sound filling the room was the mechanical tick-tock of the clock on the nightstand. Tick, tock, tick, and then that sound stopped. At the moment the clock stopped, something inside Richard's chest locked up as well. The person he loved had quietly departed from among them. The strange thing was, Richard couldn't cry at that moment. He left the hospital with that hard lump in his throat he couldn't swallow. His mind put this great loss into a box, like an equation he couldn't solve, and closed the lid. He got in the car and returned to the desert, to his work. Because there was another end he had to solve. A few weeks later, in the middle of the New Mexico desert, a pitch-black night, rain was drizzling, and there was a smell of ozone and wet earth in the air. Hundreds of scientists were looking at that iron tower miles away. The tension in the atmosphere was so high that Richard could feel the hairs on his arms standing up from static electricity. And the countdown ended. In that moment, the night was instantly erased. Despite the dark glass protecting his eyes, the light was strong enough to burn his retina. That blinding whiteness appearing on the horizon radiated a hot wave, like a giant oven door opening onto his face. There was no sound. First came only that terrifying light. Seconds later, that massive roar resembling thunder passed by them, vibrating their rib cages. Everyone was shouting in victory, hugging each other, celebrating the perfection of the calculations. Science had won. Humanity had solved the secret at the heart of matter. But amidst that crowd and noise, Richard was all alone. While his eyes looked at that massive mushroom-shaped cloud, his mind was in that quiet hospital room. They had managed to control the smallest particle of matter. They had brought the sun down to earth. But Richard knew that despite all this power in the universe, he couldn't warm the cooling hand of the person he loved. Right in the middle of the victory, he felt a deep void in his stomach. The joy of the celebrating people seemed foreign, even metallic to him. He turned to his friend beside him, with a bitter expression on his face. The world is not the same place anymore, he thought. That day, Richard lost two things at once, Arlene and the innocence of science. When the great light faded, and only the darkness of the desert and the stinging smell of smoke remained, Feynman was left alone with the silence inside him. He had postponed the pain, yes. He had closed the lid of the box tightly. But every postponed emotion surely returns one day. And that return would catch Richard defenseless, in a moment he least expected. Chapter 7. From high pressure to open air. When those heavy iron gates of Los Alamos closed behind him, what Richard felt wasn't freedom. That massive burden of responsibility on his shoulders was lifted, yes. But once that burden was gone, an indescribable void filled its place. Like a diver suddenly surfacing from deep waters, he had the bends. When he arrived at Cornell University, the peaceful atmosphere of the campus felt like a theater stage to him. Students sitting on the grass, laughter, trees swaying in the wind. Everything was so normal that this normality terrified Richard. He had seen how matter could be annihilated. Sitting in a restaurant looking out the window, he saw the sturdy buildings of New York, its massive bridges, but his mind imagined something else. How reckless people are. How can they still put brick upon brick, knowing that the power to destroy them exists? Civilization in his eyes was now as fragile as thin glass. That famous curiosity inside him had extinguished. Even looking at physics books made him nauseous. Arlene was gone. The purpose was gone. He was in his own words like a burnt-out bulb. But life sometimes unties the most complex knots in the simplest moments. During a lunch, a mundane moment in the university cafeteria, a student jokingly threw a porcelain plate into the air. The plate glided in the air, spun, and began to wobble before falling onto the table. For most, this was just noise. But Richard's eye caught the red logo on the plate. There was a mismatch between the plate's spin speed and the rhythm of that wobble. At that moment, a rusty gear in his mind began to turn with a creak. Why? This had no contribution to world peace. This had no prize. It was just interesting, just a game. He took pen and paper and started solving that meaningless, that simple spinning plate problem. As the equation spilled onto the paper, he noticed a warm feeling spreading inside him. The pressure of Los Alamos, the general's orders, the end of the world. They were all erased. Only that pure, childlike joy remained. He smiled to himself. The man who split the atom was now getting excited because he solved why a plate wobbled. This simple game opened the floodgates of a dam. Spinning plates turned into spinning electrons. Electrons turned into quantum electrodynamics. Richard realized that day, physics existed not to save the world, but to play with the world. Arlene was right. What others thought or expected didn't matter. The only thing that mattered was the grace in that plate's spin. When he returned to his room that night, he inhaled the cool air filling through the window. For the first time in years, the tightness in his chest had loosened. Curiosity had returned. But this time, not as a weapon, but as a playmate. And this new game was the first step on the path that would carry him to the peak of science, to the Nobel. Feynman's journey doesn't end here. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you won't miss what comes next. The next chapter is waiting for you. As always, take care of yourself. May the light guide your path.